Hey, look at that. Look at that. We are live and we're pretty much on time. Like,
We're
this is
definitely on
not,
time.
you're definitely
Definitely.
on time. Definitely on time. We got some stuff to talk about. It's a pretty eventful week, I would just say. Um, Usually we had two Percies, like one each, but I just threw in an extra one because I saw that, like, both of them were kind of wrestling related. And, I like to start off a little wrestling adjacent. So, I'll start off with the first one.
Okay.
And just so we just start off kind of like, food for thought. Man, I won't do the Jon Snow voice because it's early and I'm not ready for it. But basically, football season is coming. And boy, I'm hyped, man. First week of training camp. First week of training camp. We're not gonna go in deep. We'll probably save that conversation for when we hop off. But first couple days of training camp for us, it's been pretty business. I like it. Everyone's here to work. Jaden's looking good. He's already thrown interceptions, first one, but right after that, he went through and he completed some nice passes and ended up getting a touchdown and whatnot. But overall, Jaden's looking good. Everyone's there to work. There's a lot of people just doing their thing. We have an off day today, and then we'll back tomorrow. I think it's the first time that we'll actually have like fans in attendance, and so we'll have like a lot more footage and things that are happening. But Jaden's looking legit. We'll see. Like the team definitely is going to be well coached and prepared. So I think even if we go 6-11 or 7-10, I'll call that a win.
Yeah. I mean, once again, you got your what was it? Conference championship last year just by getting new ownership. So I know you're
Yeah.
excited. I mean, for us, I guess similarly, all business. When you brought this up to me, like a month ago or however long ago, about like, hey, well, how's your off season going and stuff. I was like, bro, don't talk to me till they got pads on. Like, I don't care.
Oh, they don't have pads on quite
Yeah,
yet, but in a couple of days they will.
yeah. But I mean, Trevor's the leader. He's sounding like a leader. That's the big news. He said, "Hey, Mr. Khan is nice enough to believe in us. Like he paid us all the money. This is the most he spent that I can recall, definitely as owner of the Jags." So yeah, Trevor, everybody's in lockstep. Time to win. No excuses. Everybody got their bag. Come on now.
All right. So that we'll keep that simple because that we have a couple more Sunday Percies to go through. I'm gonna let you go through yours because I feel like I want to get to mine, but I feel like we gotta wait until like at least the 8-minute mark, just
Yeah.
for just for safety's sake. But go ahead with yours and see how long you can keep it before we get to mine. Mine's not
Okay.
even that bad. It's just people be mad like soft about certain stuff, and you can't even say certain things. So I'm just like, all right, we'll try to keep this at the tail end of Percy's. So go
Yeah.
ahead with yours.
Well, mine is, I mean, obviously huge basketball fan here. And the media rights deal was in the news this week, and it finally got settled. And basically, my Percy was, I was like, man, I'm so prepared to just be frustrated, just wanting to watch a game and be like, God damn, which channel is it on again? But I took a screenshot earlier of basically the breakdown, and Disney, ABC, ESPN, they got the majority of it still. They're the big ones. But really, Amazon, they're getting all 6 of the play-in tournament games. They're getting conference finals every other year, and they're getting all the knockout rounds of the NBA Cup. And I just feel like, I mean, more access to basketball is always good, but the confusion of like where that access is, I feel like it's definitely going to set in. Like once I'm like looking for, my Rockets games and such. But I mean, I'm going to watch regardless. I just think it's going to be like minorly aggravating.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an adjustment. But I do think, I mean, for the most part, those are theoretically, there's just going to be more national games, especially when we get to after, the football season's over and they said that there's going to be more, there's going to be like a basketball game every day of the week
Mm-hmm.
on national television or some kind of national provided television. So it is definitely gonna be a change, but like for a team like the Wizards, I don't know if we're gonna be, I don't know if I'm gonna have to worry about that so much. So But I got some thoughts. I got some thoughts. You switched up your Percy because these are like sometimes we do this pretty last minute as far as updating our topic calendar. So
Yeah, slight
I'm not gonna go too
fine.
deep into it. I'm not gonna go too deep into it because we can talk about that at the on Thursday when we get to Thursday on the calendar.
Yeah.
All right. Then I'll get to my Percy. And this was just something that I just saw scrolling through Instagram. Did you see the video clip that I posted on Twitter?
No, I read the title and I really thought this was a story from you, which is why I was like, well, I'm ready for it. But no, I didn't.
See how we could play this appropriately. It's not even that bad. I'm just gonna do it.
It's fine.
Do it, and then if we get marked on it, then we'll take it out. But this is guys get attacked by two dancers in the strip club for no reason. So that's what's caught my attention just from the headline, and then I watched the video. So it's pretty simple as that. It's strip club etiquette. Props to the stunner. Like the moves are pretty on point. The 619 is pretty nice. But the stunner was nice, and then also the choke slam through the table. So again, don't get on the stage. That's seriously. And if you do get on the stage and you just so happen to get Stone Cold stunnered a 619 and then put through a table by the dancers, and you had it coming.
You deserved it, no, for sure. Because you even just letting them get that off. Because once again, wrestling is a kayfabe world. So the fact that you let them get that off on you is like, bruh, you shouldn't have been acting a fool regardless. Like when you said dancers attacking, a customer or whatever, that's not the way I thought that was about to go.
Exactly. I just saw that when I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw the caption on that, I was like, oh damn, like what happened? It must have got serious, right? Like and then I watched it and I was like, oh, they just being some wrestling nerds. All right, let's go.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
That's the Sunday Percy. Think we should get to start the show?
Feel free, yeah.
Let's start the show.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
We got it right now, coming from the Habesha Hayes and off the top rope, the French Drive Pro.
I could not find my mouse. It did everything but give me my mouse. Like I was like, where is my mouse? Jesus. Anyways, yes, this is the Wrestling Rehab Podcast. I'm Samson, the Habesha Hayes. I'm here with my tag team partner,
the French Drive Pro, Moody, off the top rope this week.
And we got a lot to get through. Pretty eventful week in wrestling. And we'll start off with the first bit of news that came out on Monday. That was Bobby Lashley's contract is coming up, as well as MVP. And it is rumored, and it's pretty much confirmed. I mean, I just even saw a post from MVP that he posted, I think, 2 days ago to Omos saying, like, it's been a good ride with you, brother. And, we'll connect soon again. Some of that language. And then Kaz, he literally got on the podcast, a phone call from MVP while they were talking about it. Obviously, I don't think that show was recorded live, so it's just, coincidental. But Kaz was even pretty much saying, like, it's pretty much true that they're leaving. Now, if they're going to AEW, and then the other rumors that are following along with going to AEW and restarting the Hurt business, I would consider that in another bucket. But I guess, how do you feel about the overall entirety of this conversation so far?
Well, we know the Hurt business. We loved them during the pandemic era. Like they really held down Like they were probably like one of the best things on TV, if not the best thing, like going from like week to week a lot of that time. So there was always like a sour taste in my mouth. I'll just speak for me, just because they were so over and I guess put the company on their back to a certain extent, you know, putting on quality television with that group. Not to mention that, like, obviously it's a all black faction, you know what I mean? And it's like hard to ignore, like, who gets opportunities and who doesn't, you know what I mean? But I'm ready for them to show up anywhere. It doesn't really necessarily have to be all of the Hurt Business. I'm down for all of them, you know, to come back. But really what was in my head was Bobby putting that headband back on and being the Destroyer again back in TNA.
Yeah. I agree. Like the Hurt Business was great. It feels like it ended too soon. Like, they were one of the hottest things on Raw, especially during that pandemic era. But for whatever reason, again, this was also during different, you know, creative run and ownership and a whole different era, a totally different era of WWE at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bobby's one of those guys, man. Like you're like, man, he could really be at the top. And there's a lot of guys people feel like that, whether it be fandom. We talk about this all the time. It's like fandom and whatnot. I think the one thing that did stood out to me that I totally forget, but it makes sense because, you know, Bobby's been around since we were like teenagers.
Yeah, literally.
Dude is 48 years old. Black don't crack, boy.
Exactly. Especially when you're taking care of yourself like that. Like, you know, that man.
I did not know he was 48 years old. Like it's believable to me because, again, he was on TV in 05, 06, 07. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that is something that I put in the document as like an open question. Like, what does it mean to be 40? Not just for Bobby Lashley, but not even just 40, but just like, even like we're in our mid 30s, right? Like, what does it mean for people like Seth Rollins, you know, Montez Ford, Bianca, like people that are going to, well, and Bianca's probably a little bit different, but like, even still, like Becky, right? Like with WWE, there seems like there's like definitely age brackets of like where you're at in your career and like what does it mean to be in these certain spots in your career. And that's why you kind of understand why some people would make these moves. So I'm not entirely mad about Bobby Lashley leaving. Obviously, I would like for him to be here, and I wish a lot of this stuff would be done. Like the Hurt Business, and not even Hurt Business, whatever he was doing with the Street Profits, just
they didn't even put any effort into that.
It just fizzled. It just nothing happened to it. So I'm glad that Bobby, it's kind of ties the same thing because I feel like there's a bit of hypocrisy that could be had where it's like, oh, why don't you have the same feelings with like Chris Jericho over in AEW? And I'm like, well, again, you got to look at a person's career and put it in perspective of like, what does it mean for them to go to another, company and then possibly do that? You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about that with Nick Nemeth later in the show, but it's kind of similar. Some of these guys, Mustafa Ali as well, where it's like, come on, like we see the talent and you've reached certain heights within the WWE, but we know for whatever reason, right or wrong, there was glass ceiling put on you.
Yeah.
You'll get through. And we're still fans of you, and we want you to connect to take that over. So even in normal circumstances, I'm not even fans of them taking like, I don't even call it intellectual property because who knows who owns it, right? But starting the Hurt Business at, say, let's say they go to AEW, doing the Hurt Business at AEW, fine. Like, as long as you add your own spin to it, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you bring Shelton back, but I'd also like to see you use them, like take somebody, an AEW original, like, a tag team, maybe the Acclaimed, I don't know, like, and kind of add them to the Hurt Business rather than, just bring in the faction. But overall, I would like to see, if Bobby goes to AEW, I would like to see him, win the title be put on and be held as the guy.
Yeah.
And not just kind of like as like, thank you, but it has like, yeah, we see you as like the face of this company.
Yeah, I could see something similar to like Christian's run, like, because I love Christian's like patriarchy and everything. They're the trios champions right now. Like, I think Lashley could like, in the same way that you say you want him to be the guy, like AEW got a lot of titles that need legitimizing, and I would put him in that era with like Okada, like a Continental Championship run. I would love that for him because it's going to be one of those big three, if not like the top one. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to see that, like with him coming in the same way that Christian elevated the TNT title. He can do it.
I don't know, man. That to go from a one mid card to another mid card.
I mean,
that's not. I don't think that's what he wants at 48.
Which is why I brought up TNA. Which is why I said that would be my choice of him going to TNA.
He was at TNA.
I know, and he was a beast. That's why I said it would be my choice for him.
Why go back? Like I'm saying, like you. If I was him, the only real option is really AEW, and it has to be. I need to be at the AEW championship level. I'm not getting any of those mid cards. I'm not doing Ring of Honor titles. I got to do the AEW championship.
Yeah, he'll walk into TNA and be the guy because that's what he was. I think another one. I would like to see him in New Japan. I think he could work in New Japan, but obviously he's not going to be like up for the New Japan, heavyweight championship. That wouldn't be happening. But I think he could definitely work over there. So it's up to them. I mean, or up to him. See which way he goes.
Yeah, but again, I understand the move. Again, I'm just surprised Bobby just being 48 because I'm like, man, you don't look like it. It seems like you look like you'd probably be like 42 if I had projected. But again, like you was on TV for over 20 years, so I get it. So it's sad, but again, happy for him at the end of the day. It seems like hey. Go do something instead of. I mean, WWE could be an easy paycheck. Like it does something about like, hey, what do you do? Like, is Montez ever going to get to the heights that we envision him to be? Probably not at this age of his career. Probably not. But like, who cares if you're still in some degree the face of a company? As we'll get because. Transition, Bianca and Jade were on Hot One Versus, and Montez Ford was there as well. He made a little appearance as well. But did you see any of this?
I did. I watched all of it.
It was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. There were some good laughs. Bianca outside of TV is just to see her normal. It's like, oh yeah, like you seem like a really chill, normal person to hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say Jade is not that either, but like again, like we've spent more time with Bianca as far as just like watching her on TV and whatnot. That it's always kind of like the John Cena-ness of her.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like you just Bianca, a girl from Tennessee,
or
wherever she's from.
Yeah, wherever I don't know where she's from, but
I know she went to school in Tennessee.
Yeah. And my immediate thought was, I was like, man, yeah, Jade's voice is a lot softer than I. Like remember, because I was like, I guess it's just once again, her physique, and like as a wrestler, you're constantly like yelling, or like she might be doing yelling promos and stuff. So that's how I'm like, but hearing them just talk, I was like, oh yeah, she is like almost. I wouldn't quite say dainty, but like, yeah, very very soft feminine voice. I mean, I guess that's what I would like, but or most men like, but and then Jade won. I know Jade won the battle off basically too. Of trivia.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny. Like to see Bianca's reaction to all the, the hotness and whatnot, and then Jade helping her out and whatnot. It was good. It was good. Again, like I can understand. We're obviously going to see them go into a versus at some like in a real, storyline, fight rivalry. But the tag team works. Again, it goes to the point because. Tying it back to the Bobby and just what does it mean to be at a certain age at WWE, right? And Bianca, technically, you would think she should be fighting for the women's championship right now. She was tag team champions. They seem like they're going to be back into a championship match again with Fire and Dawn. Possibly next week at SummerSlam, probably on Friday. Who knows? But there is something to just being like, are you the brand that we could put outside of just WWE television?
For sure.
That's a lot of money. That's worth a lot.
Yeah.
And I get that people don't want to be that, but at the same time, like, there are people that are cool with that. Like Montez Ford would be like, yeah, I would love to be WWE champion, undisputed champion. I would even love to hold the Intercontinental title or a US title. But I'm also cool being like a power couple with my wife, where we got a TV show. We making all these press runs. Anytime you guys need us for press, you got us. New York Stock Exchange, you got us. Hot Ones, you got us. Award shows, you got us.
New Year's Eve.
Y'all want us to do Saturday Night Live? You got us. Like, that's worth a lot for a company if you're talking about the business of it. And yeah, you might not get to do the things that you want to do as far as like the in-ring things, but you know, you live in a good life. So it's an interesting dynamic of like, what do you want at your 40s or your late 30s? You know, like, where's Seth Rollins in his career at this age in his career? Like, where's Shinsuke, right? It's like, again, we wanted Shinsuke for the longest time. Like, oh, Shinsuke should be holding these titles. And like, he only had one championship run as like heavyweight champion?
No, he never won the title. AJ Styles beat him.
I'm pretty sure he held the title once, right?
No, because I would remember that. I'm a Shinsuke caper, bro. He won the IC title.
Look, well, what do you think in general about age in the WWE? As I Wikipedia this.
Well, yeah, definitely. Like, there is a correlation, obviously, because when you just think logically about it, you got like the youth of NXT. You start in your 20s, and you're being established and all those things, to your 30s, which I would argue is your prime. Like, that's where, Seth, Becky are, you know what I mean? And then it just becomes, I think, muddled just due to character in your 40s, because like we still have like, just because you're in your 40s obviously doesn't mean that like you can't perform or you can't be used, because even outside of like Lashley and like, the Hurt Business, you got like Gallows and Anderson who are on NXT and they're helping get the young guys over. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're being a credible tag team on that show for them to legitimize everybody else. It's the same reason that they send down Natalya down to NXT. It's the same reason they send down.
But why can't the OC tag team titles and be a credible tag team that actually puts over younger talent?
Say it again.
Like, why can't they do the same thing but be tag team champions?
Because
I don't think the Street Profits are ever winning these tag team titles ever again.
Yeah,
this is wild. Like, what are the Street Profits now?
Yeah,
and like that's just more again. Dawkins. It's more a worry for Dawkins because you don't see him really much outside of the the WWE ring as you do with like Montez. But again, it's like, man, as far as in ring, it's like, man, like we got to do some rebuilding on these Street Profits.
Yeah,
like the OC, it's like we respect them, but they never gonna win. And that's wild. That's wild.
I mean, we also are in a post-Bloodline era where it's like, Jimmy and Jey held those for 2 years. And, they was having long title reigns. Or they started the whole, or Trips, started the whole long title reign thing with that. So I feel what you're saying. It definitely feels like, if we are getting, I guess like
Bianca and Jade are fairly similar in age, I would say. Like, I think Bianca is probably like closer to our age, and like Jade is like just turned 30, close to 30.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but as far as their careers, like they're in way two different places.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like Bianca, you could argue, is kind of like, and this is rude, and I don't even really mean it in this way. I can't think of just a better term. Kind of like in a holding pattern.
Mm-hmm.
when really like, or like we understand like what's happening. There's a lot of like working with Jade, obviously because they're friends and they have a good working relationship, but there's also like kind of like a mentor training partner in getting you ready for the big stage. So the big stage is whenever we have that match and I have to put you over, like you're going to look fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, we understand that, but like Bianca, you should also just be like trying to like run for Charlotte's record. Right?
I mean, you could.
Hey, she could do that, but like how long you got until the Roxanne Perez's, the Kalani Jordans, the Sol Rukas, the Thea Hales, the Julias.
That just goes to the
like you can quickly get washed out in this era of WWE where it's like, okay, like if you're not going to win on the TV, you're going to put over talent, and then we're going to use you as either like a Natalya or Shayna, as you're going to be like basically putting people over and taking the loss, or you'll be, you know, be used as kind of like the brand ambassador.
Yeah.
As far as like in-ring and in television, like you've kind of reached your glass ceiling.
That's where I was going with it. Is like, I think you're just circling the glass ceiling statement. Is like, oh, why don't, you know, the OC have the titles and legitimize people? It's like, well, because they hit their glass ceiling already. They had their title run. It's the same answer to Bianca, because we know in kayfabe, yeah, she's probably the best worker on the roster, and she has all the talent in the world to be just as good as Charlotte, if not, you know, better. So yeah, she could be 7-8-time women's champion right now, but that's not the story plan right now. So you just it takes luck and it takes planning.
What makes them happy at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, you're like, hey, I get to be with my husband. You know, we talk about this with Naomi. Why come back to WWE if you're just gonna be taking L's?
Yeah.
But you get to be back with your husband on the same schedule, you know, being in front of large crowds, you know, still be able to entertain and perform, have a good time. And so like a lot of times what we see and happening as like the dynamics of kayfabe on television doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And, you know, as far as like what makes them happy and fulfilled.
Yeah, because the paycheck is staying the same. Like the contract's already signed. So it doesn't matter what you're actually doing at that point in time. Or you could argue that.
Some people do care. Someone like Mercedes would be mad about this and would be like, oh, I can't do it. I got to leave. And that's respect. You know, like to what makes you happy at the end of the day is just a business.
Yeah.
It's TV, you know, like, so. Any more thoughts? We didn't really talk. Speaking, you had any more like direct thoughts on the Bianca and Jade, other than it was just cool and fun to see them?
I mean, there was literally just because it was Hot One versus that. It's like, you know, the wrestling fan in me is like, oh, they're starting to build now. You know? So that's all I want. That was the only thought that I had. But it's like, of course, however much I want to like lean into that, you know what I'm saying? So
I don't know if they're officially. I know it seems like they're gonna have their match with Fire and Dawn. Probably again. Tendencies would be that right now SummerSlam has 7 matches on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I doubt that they put 8. Like maybe they put this on the card.
Mm-hmm.
I can also see them do this on Friday.
Yeah. It could have been on the card if they actually would have had the champions on the show. Like in the past, like since winning them.
Again, it's just typical happens that like they feel like the night before they got to have like a title match. Just to make it feel like, again, I'm not big on the night before a pay-per-view in town. Like that 3-day-ness, that back-to-back Friday SmackDown. Usually I feel like the people on SmackDown get gypped.
Yeah.
That's just me. But let's get into the flagship store. We're not at the boutique. Let's get into the flagship store of Raw. And pretty decent episode of Raw, I would say. I'll let you start off with what'd you pick up?
Primo, Seth, being named a special guest. And the reason that this is Primo for me is, first off, you know, that this is the wrong match to be getting a special guest referee, in my opinion. Like, I think that this should be a straight up match. I personally, honestly, don't like the fact that he's in it. However, it's Primo because I wasn't expecting this, and it's that obviously this is what they've been building to. It's like, oh, they've been taking the ref bumps, you know. Drew doesn't want to apologize to the refs for hurting him and all that stuff. You know, I'm like, oh, okay, well, at least this makes 1,000% storyline sense. You know what I mean? Like when you look back at it like that.
Yeah.
But, so that just threw like a monkey wrench in it for me, just because I'm like, all right, so which way does this go now? You know what I'm saying? It just adds that like bit more air of unpredictability to it. I haven't like sat and thought about it at all, like at least as the match going forward. How about you? What do you think is the plan here?
I have the Seth and being named as guest as a mid, just for it. It's kind of predictable in a sense that you had to get Seth on the card. Again, it's like, what are we doing with Seth? Like, he had a title match, he lost. I get it, but he was screwed by both these guys.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense. And so it does feel in a way that you're putting him on the card just to have him on the card. But again, Seth is my guy. So I'm like, give me Seth Rollins on any time of the day. I'm good. So I'm glad that he's there. It does add some intrigue because I really don't know which way he can go. Like, I feel like there's way more hatred towards CM Punk from Seth Rollins than Drew McIntyre. Like, I really does, correct me if I'm wrong, but other than what recently happened between Drew and Seth, like, is there anything Seth has anything to be tight about with Drew?
No. I mean, former Drew, face Drew, and them respected each other. You know, they had title matches before, but this is a new character, and they haven't. Yeah.
I feel like Seth got on Drew at one point for, you know, whining and bitching and moaning and blaming everybody else.
Because Seth beat this Drew. I forget which pay-per-view that was, but he beat him already. You know, when he was on his title run, his World Heavyweight Championship runs. He could be mad about that, and that's kind of what, like, that's kind of what started the Drew character in a sense. I think it just got a lot more focused when CM Punk came in. It got a lot sharper, you know, and they were just so good, like bouncing off each other. But yeah, he first started complaining and shit with Seth. So yeah, that's the first thing now I think about it.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So I put it mid because I'd rather him be in the match, but I like the intrigue of him being special guest because I don't know which way he's going to go. This is like the most unpredictable way. I have to wait to see what happens next week to be able to give you my predictions for next week. I can't give you one right now.
And that's exactly the reason that it's Primo for me this week. Because like I said, I don't like it personally, but it's like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen. So that's a good thing, if anything. And the other Primo that I picked up specifically was just the first Sister Abigail we've seen in 2 years.
Yeah.
I
had that in my shake, but I didn't have it with the context of it being the first one in 2 years, but that's a good context. So yeah,
but just simply that, obviously
it looked good too. It good.
Did. And I'm not obviously the whole not promo. The whole segment was good, but you know, just that Sister Abigail, I'm not even joking when I say I got goosebumps seeing that. I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't know what other finisher we thought he was going to use, but I hadn't thought about it. But it's like, of course, it's the Sister Abigail. What else would it be? You know?
Yeah. I enjoyed that segment. I think it was well done. I don't think I had that on my card anywhere. If anywhere, it was probably Shake. But again, it looked good. And we also got a little bit of a Nikki Cross video package as well. Yeah. Not much context, but are we still leaning towards the idea that this is a therapy group or a support group of some sort?
I mean, yeah, still, because like I watched that, like her promo or that vignette of her like 3 times, and from what I can make out, Uncle Howdy, he's just saying like, look at yourself, like over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And then, she just screams. So yeah, there's not a lot of context there.
Yeah.
But
maybe we might get some next week.
Yeah, if anything, that just intrigues her character more. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a way better Sister Abigail than Alexa Bliss's Sister Abigail that she was going for.
One question about the Wyatt Six that, again, I've heard through this, I guess, through listening through one of the Ringer wrestling podcasts. Some people weren't like, is he really just coming after Chad Gable? Like, you would think that they would come for a little bit more someone higher, like someone WWE champion, maybe Damian Priest or Cody Rhodes or some of that nature, or just have a lot more of a wider impact. Like, why Chad Gable, and why is it it seems very mid card.
Yeah. And I think that's why we were all leaning towards Jey so much, and people were focusing on the Fireflies and stuff because they've been pushing him as main event Jey Uso. So we know he's getting title shots and stuff. So that would be a lot more, helpful, at least as far as a first opponent, I guess. But I mean, yeah, I'd prefer for it to be Jey if you're telling me it's Jey or Chad Gable, because even Chad hasn't won a singles title yet. So, but I think it can work. It'll lean. They're still coming for Jey. I mean, the only motive that we've gotten from the Wyatt Six is like, if you abandon your family, then we're targeting you. And that's where I was like, okay, well, Jey works because he left the bloodline
in the ring as those lights are going off, and he's just like, deuces, and then just disappears. And it's like, they let him go. They're focused on Gable.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, that I would like for it to be Jey, but I don't know why it is specifically him, other than obviously he's been the most obvious bully on TV and treating Alpha Academy like shit. But
well,
what's Jey doing at SummerSlam?
You look like he might be winning the tag team titles with Sammy, because that's what I have as my shake. Because they beat the Judgment Day. Well, next, Sammy's got his tag team. He's got his Intercontinental match with Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what Jey's doing.
Exactly. So it should be Jey once again.
We'll talk about Jey a little bit. We'll talk about Jey when we get to Tuesday. But yeah, I had that in my shake though. Like, I guess Jey and Sammy are going to be Judgment Day for the tag team titles, because they beat them this week.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like you got a tag team match on deck between Jey and Sammy versus the Judgment Day. And it could happen the following Monday after SummerSlam, after Sammy loses his title, possibly.
Yeah.
Unless that Hall of Fame resiliency comes in again. Maybe Ilya,
exactly.
Maybe Ilya comes through and interferes, because he got concussed.
We're not jumping too far ahead, but that lines us up for our Bloodline versus Bloodline.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to get to the Bloodline on Friday. So
yeah.
But just assuming if they win the tag team titles, that's something right there. Jey and Sammy?
Let's talk about something that we agreed on as a mid. I think this is probably a rising mid. It's a rising mid for me. So, Dom, I had it as Dom makes Liv cry. You said Daisy Dukes dissed by Dirty Dom, but obviously that was pretty much the big thing that happened on the show. Was Dom said something in Spanish. I did not look for the translation, but enough to make Liv just cry. It's very, the telenovela stuff works with me, so it's cool. I enjoy it. It's, again, kind of expected. I have a theory of where we might be headed with this storyline, and I would say look back into history, but I'll let you go with your thoughts first.
Oh, I mean, same thing. I've been all about the Liv, Rhea Dom love triangle this entire time. Pulling out the Daisy Dukes. Boy, she applying. I mean, I don't know how much more pressure you can apply. Honestly, for being an aggressive woman towards a guy, it's like, all right. Like, you already gave him the hotel room key, like, all this stuff. Like, he ain't fucking with you. Like, we've known this entire time, but it's like, he just got a weak-ass spirit because he's a man. So, but
he's loyal. He's loyal to his mommy.
He ain't loyal. Are you kidding me? But that lick on the face, though, that took him to a place of euphoria, I'd say, for sure. Like, very indicative of like the type of relationship where we know it's very Dom subcoded, between those two, and Dominic's the Dom is the sub. So yeah, for sure. So it looked like he melted. Once again, there's another week of build here. There's another way to make Dom dirtier, which is just, hey, he's got to turn on Rhea, right? But we gotta see.
That's where he's going, and I think I said my look back in history is look back at how Stephanie McMahon got with Triple H, and that happened because at first she was going to marry Test, but the whole time, like, her dad and Shane would like interfere in her life all the time. And Stephanie at first was like this innocent, like, girl and whatnot. She was just so sweet. And then she got concussed because fucking British Bulldog threw a trash can and knocked her out. She forgot she was engaged to Test, eventually remembered, but then remembered how her dad and her brother made her life a living hell the entire time and tried to control her life. And so like that whole time where it was like, oh yeah, like Triple H drugged me to and married me and all that stuff. She turned on her father at Armageddon 99. She had the sledgehammer and looked like she was about to hit Triple H. And then she didn't. She turned around. Triple H takes the sledgehammer from her and hits Vince. And then they start laughing together. And then they hug and then they kiss and they do all this stuff. And then you get the beginning of the McMahon-Helmsley era. And I feel like something similar can happen like that. Mm-hmm. I feel a lot of this is just Dom just showing his loyalty. Because, again, Stephanie did the same thing. She went in that match on Vince's side saying that, like, I hate you, Triple H, blah, blah, blah. It was supposed to be like, if Vince wins, she's supposed to get a divorce. He's supposed to get the divorce. And so, like, her helping was just basically her saying an F you to her father.
Yeah.
And that same thing could play out to Rhea. Because I believe what Liv was saying to Dom the whole entire time while she was gone, where it's like, you need to be treated like the man that you deserved and not, be, the little baby in it, the sub in it. It's like, that probably got to his head. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, yeah, I am. She respects my Latino heat. I guarantee you what's going to happen is Dom looks like he's going to do something to Liv. And then they give her the Eddie, they give the little Eddie shake. And it's like a little sign that they in this together. Watch for the Eddie shake between Liv and Dom.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be their thing.
All right. So. But yeah, it's just a matter of time. He'll be turning soon.
I'll let you finish off for what you picked up at Raw.
Braun beating Ilya by ref stoppage because he just speared him too hard. Now, like I said, I'm personally a person, I don't mind like a TKO finish as long as it's used properly. And the fact that they're clearly just using this specifically for Braun, I'm perfectly okay with it. Like, it's not something that's
they speared him too hard. It looked like, because I watched it in real time, it looked like his head hit the back.
Yeah, he did. I'm assuming that that was part of the show.
Part of the show,
yeah. So it's like he just hit him too hard, because he didn't hit him. So I'm okay with that personally. I know some people don't like it because it's like it can seem, I guess, not a dusty finish, but
I get it. It's protecting Ilya. Yeah. I'm saying? Like, I get it.
But it's the same thing as when Brett and Stone Cold have the Iron Man match, and it's like, well, he didn't tap, he passed out, so But yeah,
Yeah,
it was good though.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I could have had it at mid. I'd probably throw it in a shake for me.
Yeah. It
Because
just
again,
goes
like
to
we
Braun's gimmick, you know.
we're getting to Sammy and Braun, and so it's not entirely surprising. Like the fact that it was a number one contendership match makes it a little bit more disappointing because it's like if this was just a regular match, fine.
Yeah.
But the fact this was number one contendership match is like we already knew that. It's like when Austin Theory was told at the last second that he was going to be in the Money in the Bank briefcase match.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bro, like we know he's going to win now. So, I'm hoping my theory of Ilya is going to interfere and cost Braun this match comes into play, and maybe we get a triple threat at Clash of the Castle. And the surprise is that Ilya will win the title.
Yeah. Or a surprise for storyline, for sure. I think that's why it's not a surprise that this ends.
But if you're able to get Ilya in home turf to win that title, let's go.
Yeah, that's lit. No, that's a great prediction. Yeah, he has all the reason to hate him. And if anything, I think it just goes to maybe they didn't realize like how quickly like both of their presentations would be over, like just immediately. And Ilya for the majority has just been in the ring. You know what I mean? They've given more screen time to Braun, obviously, because he's like the main adversary for Sammy right now. But even in like the slightly less time that Ilya has, he's just as over as Braun. If maybe just a kind of step behind him. You know what I mean?
I think when you put a belt on Ilya and like he can have that belt on him in the ring, you know, when he's like all suited up and whatnot, like it's gonna be very Gunther-esque.
Yeah.
And not in a heel way, but you know, it just gives us the sense of, yeah, I believe this is a champion.
Yeah.
Type of look. And
it's broad shoulders, it's fucking stockiness, like you can see the power of the hips, all that type of shit. They both got that in common. And the European bruiser type of style, you know. So I can see that. But how about you? You got one last thing or what?
No, that was it for me. I'm ready to move on to the next day, Tuesday.
That was Raw, people.
Well, another bit of news that came out on Tuesday. Rikishi has a podcast. I didn't know this, but you know, it was posted. He talked about Jey Uso and you know what's happening to him on Raw. And he also spoke about some Bloodline news as well. So let's watch what Rikishi has to say. It's about a 2-minute clip.
About
3.
I'll tell you one thing, man. I got, you know, hairs on the back of my neck every time I watch it. You know, SummerSlam. Where is he? Let's go. I don't know. Let's write him in that he likes mommy. Mommy? That's the best that those, you know, writers got. Let's write this guy into a relationship with mommy. What y'all trying to do? Break his marriage up? Y'all can't put him in a good storyline, so what you gonna do now? You know, God forbid you guys try to tell him or tell her tongue kiss each other on Raw. That better not happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's so much that, you know, when it comes to the bloodline, man, this is what gets me like going. Like, this is why I tell the bloodline, when people talk about the bloodline, oh, we tired of the bloodline. You can be tired all you want for a few years, right? But we've been going through this for 75 plus years, right? You don't think we tired? But we're the type of people, we tired, but we keep coming back. We keep finding solutions, not excuses, solutions. And the solutions needs to be the best you can be in that squared circle. Otherwise, if we're not over in the squared circle, move us out.
I was just going to say that. Aren't you pretty much telling others to step up, be better than you?
100%. 100%. If you can put asses in seats, if you can knock those merchandise sales out, if you can bring up WWE's revenue, TKO's revenue, if the bloodline is not that anymore, I get it. I get it, y'all. Go ahead and just knock it then. But you cannot knock the bloodline that's been holding professional wrestling company as WWE on their backs for the last 4 to 5, 6 years now. And they still holding it without the main guy there. Who's the main guy? Roman's mother Reigns. Come on. Y'all can write that. Because when he does come back, you better have enough armored trucks to fill up that bank account for WWE. TKO. Have enough. Because this man here is just going to sell out everywhere and anywhere throughout the world that WWE puts him to. Right? That's not to mention the Usos when they come back. That's not to mention maybe another bloodline member, possibly may be able to drive up in a black Lincoln. I'll leave it at that, damn it.
You kind of, I didn't expect to play the whole clip, but when he's speaking, I was like, man, Rikishi still got it.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, wrestling family.
But obviously, he wasn't given probably the leeway to speak like that. But man, so coming off what we said last week, I put up the clip of us talking about the bloodline and us talking about Rikishi being the wise man. Seemed like he kind of was picking the OG bloodline in that line of sand, but a lot to unpack there. I'll let you start off.
I didn't get that distinction. I thought I got the distinction that Roman's the fucking guy for sure, but it didn't sound like he was picking old bloodline. Maybe just mentioning Jey because that little interview, I really like it because once again, the greatest wrestling family ever, right? Or one of them. So he's able to blur kayfabe in real life effortlessly as in that interview. You know what I'm saying? That's how I heard it. So when he's mentioning, if another bloodline member is going to come, it's like, well, yeah, we know that they got other cousins. You know what I'm saying? That's nothing for you to pull another Fatu off the fucking family tree. That's easy. You know what I mean? So
talking about himself in that situation.
Maybe he could have been.
No. It's not a maybe. When he's talking about a black Lincoln.
Oh yeah, true. I thought he was seasoning it with that. Okay, so that's how you read it. Yeah, that
takes you back to him
when
over Stone Cold.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what it is.
Rock. So
I'm saying I thought that he was just spicing it up like it was going to be another murder attempt, I guess. But either way,
it could be that too. It could be that, but I took that directly as
if that's the case, and I predicted that last week. Like I said, that's who I want.
Pretty much, if you see a black Lincoln around WWE parking lots, that's me. And that's a mean thing to see. Imagine on imagine on Raw. You're like, oh, look at this tinted out black Lincoln. We haven't seen one of those since November '99.
just fucking make it extra thick with all the references and stuff. For some reason, Grandmaster Sexay is making an appearance backstage. We haven't seen him in 15 years. It's like, what?
RIP Grandmaster Sexay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Scotty Too Hotty's backstage. There you go.
Yes.
For a random reason. You're like, what the hell is he doing here?
But when I first heard it, I was like, Rikishi, I know you're not being tight about kissing and stuff like that. Because again, we all know everyone involved here is married.
Yeah.
Rhea literally just got married. Dom's been married for at least 6 months to a year. We assume that Jay's been married. So it's still acting. But again, I think what you mentioned is perfect, is that he blurred the line between kayfabe and shooting extremely well. Because then when you think about it and he's playing a wise man. He's playing the tribal chief. He's playing one of the elders.
Mm-hmm.
And this is first ever real elder talk that we ever get. if you take this as like the shoot work promo that it is, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think there is some legitimacy of him like, yo, my son deserves a better storyline than what he's getting right now.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it's also within the guise of like, yo, he's still selling merch. He's still putting over. I know they're not trying to break his marriage up.
He knows that too, that's why I said it was him blurring the lines, because it's like, yo, he is a wrestling family. Like the same thing that you just said about Kevin Owens' mom. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, she'd be fine with it because she's in the hospital and they're part of a wrestling family. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. But it's like, Rikishi knows that. Like, come on.
But yeah, I mean, it's put it in the back of your pocket or back of your mind and just.
They already did. I said it last week.
That rolled through. I was like, yeah, you know, that is very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Very intriguing. I'm gonna be on the lookout for some Black Lincolns that were made in 1999. Again, he did it for The Rock. Let's stop at the bodega. Yo, what happened to the calendar? This is a whole section. Oh, wait. I was like, something got moved around. I was like, what happened to the standards?
No.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, what'd you pick up at the bodega?
I'll let you start off with Pete Dunne attacking Trick, because we both had that. I want to hear your thoughts on that first. We both had it at mid.
Yeah, I got it at mid because I like that they're giving stuff Pete Dunne to do. He has now 2 rivalries ongoing right now. You know, he has Sheamus and he has now Trick Williams for whatever reason. I put this probably as a flat mid because it's just kind of reminiscent of like Nia Michin and her rivalry with Jada Parker and Nia Jax at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, which one of these are you actually going to benefit from? I feel like this is a little bit opposite. I think he could probably benefit more from the actual Sheamus rivalry. I think he could get over with this. In this sense, I don't know why he's attacking Trick Williams, but I do like that. Like, we're giving him something to do. He's going after the top guy at NXT. For all intents and purposes, even though he doesn't have the title, he is, you know, still the top guy on the roster. I'm just intrigued. I just like that Pete Dunne is actually getting stuff to do, though. I do think he's going to come out the losing end on this.
Yeah,
I think it's more so for him to put, like, I think the similar to like why, like when, like, again, going back Attitude Era history lesson, why they got Mankind in a rivalry with like The Rock initially was so that they can give The Rock like a bit more aggression in his fighting style.
Mm-hmm.
And like more attitude and like basically like Mick could kind of like work you into a grimier state of wrestling that can kind of get you more well-roundedly appreciated rather than you kind of just do this one-dimensional kind of thing. And so that's where it's like, all right, Trick, like we got to get you out of your comfort zone. That really shows the diversity of like your well-roundedness of your skill set and how you're able to adapt. So that's where I think where Pete Dunne is kind of being used in this perspective to help out Trick.
Okay, that's not a bad thought process behind it at all, as I think about it, because it was once again similar to like what you said. It's like just purely the intrigue of it, and immediately, yeah, Jada Parker and Michin did come to my head. So, however, I think it. Like Sheamus would still, I mean, obviously he's worked with Sheamus like already plenty, but I think it definitely has more oomph to it because they have that history on the main roster that I think that would, you know, benefit him more. But just that individual rivalry versus, you know, Trick. But as you bring up, just making him more well-rounded as a wrestler, like Trick, you know, this is just something for him. It's like, okay, well, yeah, that's a thought process behind it. Because for me, it was just like
he's going against someone that's out of his element. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
he's gonna have to force Trick and, you know, kayfabe to kind of like think differently and approach someone completely different. Because Pete Dunne is not your typical wrestler.
Yeah, maybe he gets a submission out of it or something. Maybe we'll get a Trick submission.
Yeah, something. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the Mick thing led. That's what the Mankind thing with The Rock was. It was like, oh snap! Like Rock can go nuts, and that's how you get. That's how you get the the chair shots from the I Quit match, and like all of that. Like, all right, Rock would be like a little OD with this.
Yeah,
he's not just like this football, glitzing. Like he can really he'll pour out some blood. He will take the bumps that like he will put his body on the line. And so I think that's where it's like we need to see Trick do the other things as well. Not necessarily he needs to, it's just more so it's like, hey, this is what happens when I get into the ring with someone that is a completely different archetype than the ones that I typically face. So that's where it is. I'll let you go with your
the other one is simple. It's just like I'm still high on the Rascals, or formerly MSK.
Yeah,
Rascals, just their trio combination, beating Axiom, Frazier, the NXT Tag Team Champions, and Javon Evans. And this match was exactly what you thought it was. Just hearing those names. So that's why that's mid going up. That's just obviously there to be the main event and like a whole lot of fun between a whole lot of bouncy motherfuckers. So that's what
it's not the match where like Javon Evans just did like a standing jump from the outside and then like springboarded off the bottom rope.
Yeah.
And like did a cutter.
Yeah.
Like just the athleticism is ridiculous.
I wonder how tall he is. He's got to be like, because he looks.
6'2".
Is he 6'2"? I was gonna say he might be
like 6'2". I'll look it up.
Okay, but I was just thinking, but yeah, like we're similar builds, and I'm like, every time I look at Javon Evans, I'm like, is that me basically? Like in the ring, I'm pretty sure it is. Where I'm like, he looks significantly taller though. That's where I'm like, he might be like a good 6'3", but I'm not quite sure. Personally, my favorite
5'11". It says
5'11". Okay, so he's not that tall. All right, but
5'11", about 150.
Oh wow,
Sportskeeda. So take that for what it is.
Sure, yeah, I'm bigger than him if that's true. But also just the signature move that I love, like from the Rascals, they have this spot where they do a triple drop kick at the same time, but the way they do it is like the opponent is seated and either one of them on either side, they lift up like Wesley, who's in the middle, and they like just rotate like his legs and arms. So he's doing a backflip. And as he's doing a backflip, they just like come off of their feet and they all just drop kick the same guy. It's a triple drop. I'm like, oh, that's pretty sweet. Just innovative offense. So it was just fun. But that's why it's in mids for me.
All right. I had Ora Mensah pins Ethan Page again as one of my mids. I put this as a mid to kind of slightly rising mid. It's more. It was a segment. It wasn't even a match. It was a segment. I don't know if you caught the segment.
I did.
Yeah, I found it funny. I thought Ethan Page, like the whole ego thing, it works well in that moment. And so like when he called out the ref and he was like berating him and everything, and then Ora Mensah comes out and he gets the 1, 2, 3, and then you see the ref fast count. I was like, I liked it. It was funny. Like it's not great. It could probably even be Shake. I enjoyed it though, because when they do the 1, 2, 3, I was like, that's a little corny, but I get it now within the context of like, hey, you're just fucking with this dude's ego. And like, it's more so Ethan Page really selling it than anything. So that's why I kind of give the mids in. I'm like, all right, Ethan Page, like, yeah, you're showing me something here. You're showing me something as like someone that's like, it's entertaining.
Yeah, I'd say even in a vacuum, this is the best, segment I've seen with Ethan Page. I just did, and like you said, like even his reaction, I love the selling of it. 1,000%, it was great. But this is why it was in my shake that I guess I don't understand what's happening with them. Like, where did this start? I must have missed the start of this, like Oro and.
Yeah, I missed the start of this too, but I just remember, like, a couple weeks ago they had like everyone was coming out and basically was like, I deserve to have the next title shot against Ethan Page because he basically won it like in that 5-way match. And so you still had everybody that was in that match. They came out, and then Ora Mensa also came out. And so basically, out of everyone that's basically asking for a title, he's technically the one that's kind of the outlier that wasn't involved in the original match, right?
Yeah.
So apparently, at some point, I think he got a 1-2-3, but it was an unofficial 1-2-3 last week. And so, Ethan Page, he can't let anything go.
Yeah.
And so naturally, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring out a ref and be like, yo, tell them that it wasn't official and nothing was legit." And it's just he's just bringing it on his own to give Ora Mensa more of an excuse to fight him.
Okay.
Because you're right, there's really no reason for Ora Mensa to have it other than from a non-kayfabe perspective, like we're trying to give this guy an opportunity.
Yeah.
But
clearly.
basically, Ethan Page is ironically giving this guy an opportunity he probably doesn't deserve one.
Yeah,
you just can't get over the fact that
he can't live with it. Yeah, he can't live with it. Yeah, it's pissing him off.
That's how I'm reading the whole situation. So
I just didn't know what the genesis was, but I guess that's like the beginning.
And I could be completely wrong because again, I'm not watching this on a regular basis, but from like the last couple of weeks of just understanding like what's kind of been happening on NXT, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And speaking of Ora Mensa, Metaphor, I probably just put this in my shake as well. They have a tag team title match against Fire and Dawn next week. So similar, we got Bianca and Jade versus, spoiler alert, Bianca and Jade versus Fire and Dawn next week. And then we also got
Jakarta Jackson.
Versus the Fire and Dawn. So seems like Fire and Dawn is going to be on a double retention tour next week.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to call that out. They look good too. There was a clip going around of Lash Legend hitting her finisher, and it looked pretty clean. It looked pretty clean and devastating. So looking forward to seeing them see how they perform next week on NXT. My last bit of shake here is this bit of camera production work from WWE team. And again, pretty impressive, I would say. Where is this mouse? God damn it.
Yeah, I watched this earlier. I still was wondering like exactly what about the production that you were raving about.
Oh, I'll put it on the big screen. Make it a little bigger tab at least. So, we'll add the.
You're already Thank you. Yeah. See what Tatum posted? Huh? Tatum post. Yeah.
We see
Is that
Wendy Chu in the back.
Mm-hmm. What is that all about?
Yeah.
I wish I knew, but that girl was starting to creep me out.
And then that girl started to creep me out, and that was Wendy Chu. She's talking about Tatum Paxley, but Wendy Chu's literally walking. So it was just a lot of things that were happening. It's just like, all right, you got a conversation about Tatum Paxley and Kalani Jordan and whatnot. Her talking about her being creeped out when really you should be starting to be creeped out by Wendy Chu, who's just randomly walking in the background.
Yeah.
And then you got Ashante the Adonis just kind of casually coming through, smooth by, picking up two women. And he's like, "Oh, I'm hurt. Can you take me over to medical?" And then just looks back at the camera. Just very like 90s. It just works out pretty well. And that kind of also goes back to Ashante and Cedric coming out earlier in the evening and cutting out, a little promo with Trick Williams that I thought was pretty done well on their side. Like, I actually kind of like that coming from both Cedric and Ashante. So just something that give them more time, all of it. I thought the camera work was done. I thought a lot. It's just a good backstage segment that's just, you see a lot of things happening and you're able to kind of pick and choose of like, oh, damn, like that was pretty cool. I saw some pretty cool, funny, entertaining work, but then there's some kind of breadcrumbs that were being thrown in there. So that's why I liked it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I did notice all of those things, but it was just the living, breathing locker room aspect of it. Yeah. Keep that coming for sure.
Yeah. I think we're done with the bodega, right?
Yeah, I'm done.
And let's go over to the coffee shop and talk about Dynamite this week, which was a special Dynamite, as it was AEW Blood and Guts. And I'll ask you this question: why is this a regular show and not a pay-per-view? And I'm not asking that as like out of rudeness. I'm like, why was this not a pay-per-view?
I mean, they routinely do this. I don't feel like, I mean, it's similar to obviously like NXT, like Spring Breakin' when they just do like the theme shows. So I think honestly, I
think next week is like Great American Bash or something like that.
Huh?
I think next week is like Great American Bash.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah. I think it's a walk before you run type of thing. Like you said, it's just, AEW and WWE are at way two different spots, obviously, as far as companies. So I think it's just more appropriate, for them to have, or this is just me as a viewer. I don't need a dozen pay-per-views from them. You can give me a special episode. You know what I'm saying? Because your pay-per-views really got to hit. You know what I'm saying? If you're flooding the market with pay-per-views every month, like we were getting with WWE, and you have like injury, like, or a history of
and
injury,
it's literally been the same thing for a year. It's one pay-per-view a month.
I think they do like. I think the way they have
it feels a lot because it's like we'll get one in like mid-June, and then 2 weeks later we'll get another one, and it's like really the first week of July. But then you won't get another pay-per-view for another month.
Mm-hmm. I thought they had like 8 pay-per-views. We need to look.
NXT makes it feel a little bit more, but I don't think it's ever changed. It's still about 12 pay-per-views a year.
Yeah. I think it's about like AEW, I would guess maybe 8 like official like pay-per-views, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then like maybe like 4 special edition shows. Yeah. That's what I think it is. But I don't mind them. Yeah, I don't mind.
What did you think about the show in general?
I mean, well, its namesake was great. The Blood and Guts match. It did. I was teetering on this, whether this was primo or mids or not. And obviously, like the reason that you have it in Reggie is that exact reason is that the chair shot just.
I don't have that in Reggie. I don't have the match in Reggie. I have the match in Shake.
Yeah, I got you. All right, you have it what?
I have the match in Shake.
Oh, okay.
The match itself, I put anywhere between it's probably mids. It takes it out of mids because I'm not gonna put it in Reggie because they did way too much stuff to say that's Reggie. No.
And that's where
for me, I would put it in Shake because it was just a mixed bag of things that personally for me didn't work for me. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, it was just I was teetering on the primo, but then it was like, the chair, like literally just the chair shot itself was like, like it took me out of it. Seriously, it really did. But I was like, did you have to? Like, and then honestly, in that moment, I was like. Obviously, these things are, they're scripted, but I'm like, there was even a piece of me that literally was like, did Mark like just go rogue right here and just do that? I know he didn't, but it was just like almost that in disbelief, you know what I mean? But other than that, we had the first, face off. The reason that I really wanted to put in primo because we had the first interaction between Swerve and Hangman. Since, Hangman's come back, which, that's like the real blood rivalry of all of AEW. Like, no rivalry is, like, more than that. So it's better than that. And really, obviously, they get cartoonish. Like, Darby Allin is the fucking, like, stuntman of this entire, like, company. And for him to threaten lighting motherfuckers on fire again, I was just like, it just immediately reminded me of, like, the flamethrower spot when he came out for the save. And he's like, y'all better back up, So I really like that because, of course, we're not going to watch him actually light somebody on fire. And just also in that moment for that to be the match, to end the match, that, Mark is like, all right, you got your TNT championship match. That was clearly shoehorned in. That was confusing for me, but at least it's like, all right, yeah, they're EVPs and they're assholes, but they don't want to watch an immolation. You know what I'm saying? They don't want like Jack Perry to die, so they'll give up. So it's like, even though it's like that much of a heart, they got a heart. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was a mixed bag. Obviously, anytime you're getting a fucking huge multi-man, bloody double cage match, it's going to be a whole lot of bells and whistles. But yeah, mids up, the mid pointing up. That's what it would be.
Yeah, if I had to put it anywhere, I'd say it's a flat mid for me.
Yeah.
If anything, if I didn't have to put it in a shake, because like there's stuff within it I enjoyed. I actually watched this live because I didn't know that this was happening tonight. I didn't even know what a Blood and Guts match was. I just saw the promotion for it on Twitter earlier in the day. So I was like, oh, I'll tune in to watch that because I ain't got nothing to do tonight really to watch. So I'll watch it. I jumped in, I think, halfway. I think the match was like another hour-long match. Because I feel like I jumped in at like around 9:27, and I stepped out, and it went on for like the rest of the 30 minutes till 10 o'clock. So I caught a good about 30 minutes of that match. Some things, it kind of highlights things that just don't work for me, and with AEW in general. I do think some of the, and I could be speaking out of half-ass because like we'll see what happens with WWE when they get into like their Netflix deal and they become a lot more, free and uncensored, how they push the envelope. But sometimes I feel like the shock factor is very childish.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, like even in some of the earlier segments throughout the show, like it's like, I think MJF mentioned somebody's like grandmother being dead.
Yeah, Will Ospreay.
How many times do we got to just bring up somebody's family member being dead and everybody's like, oh, it's like, it's almost like cursing. It's like, if you got to curse every other word, you're using either a lazy, bad with language, or just using it as a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's got to be better ways for you to explain your venom and your animosity than just taking low blow jabs. It's like, it's a high school version of dissing.
Yeah.
Even the way they curse is just like a 12-year-old. So like, even like Tony Storm was like, I'm prepared to die. And it's like, it's fucking a television show. It's wrestling. So I think, again, maybe that's just me, but there's a lot of stuff within the match that I do like. I did like the Darby Allin Ninja Warrior.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, the Ninja Warrior coffin drop. That was dope. I thought Swerve's momentum was really dope when he finally got into the ring after he got unhooked from the cage. I thought that was a little predictable, but I like how it worked out. I did like how they were like, yo, Hangman, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But again, like, if you don't come in this ring, you're fired. And it's like, duh. Like, why is that a shocking thing?
Yeah.
Like, so I think some of the matches overly produced. Like, some things are just waiting for spots to happen. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna lay on this mat while you guys put a barbed wire board on me just so this guy can get set up to do a swanton. It's like,
well, any big multi-man match is gonna do that for sure.
Yeah,
unless you're like this, you gotta be like this.
Away from like, and not to say like this doesn't happen with War Games matches, because that was another thing I was trying to figure out. I was like, what? There's two things I was trying to figure out. One of them was not that big of a deal. One of them, it answered my question at the end of it, and kind of another reason why I had it in shake. The first was, what makes this different than a War Games match? And it's not anything to be mad about at AEW. It was more just to me to understand, like, okay, I get it. Double-sided ring. People are coming in intermittent intervals and whatnot. Cool. The match doesn't start until everyone gets into the ring. Cool. Got that. Where's the difference? And if it's no difference, that's cool. You can have a War Games match and just call it something different. I
don't think there's a difference. I'm pretty sure it is.
No, the difference is I think you got to say you quit, right? There's no.
Oh, do you? Maybe. Okay. Yeah.
There's no winning with pinfall. I think you have to say you quit.
Okay.
Because that's how the match ended.
That's how the match ended. You're right. Yeah.
So that's how I'm taking how a Blood and Guts match ends is different than a War Games match. Fine.
Yeah.
The way it ended kind of bothered me. because we did the whole time. I was wondering, why are we doing this on a Wednesday night? Why are we doing this on a random Wednesday night? Why are you putting your body through the line on a random Wednesday night? Putting thumbtacks in your mouth and getting super kicked.
Yeah.
Like, on a random Wednesday night for free. All for a TNT championship match?
And that's why I feel like it was shoehorned in.
Why would AEW win? It just seems like I would expect the Elite to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just seems too early. Like, it just that's I gotta keep it in shake. There's just the match itself was decent. The reasons for the match, it's just I just don't understand why you gave it out for free on a Wednesday. Just to end it with a TNT championship.
Which like that was clearly shoehorned in. Like, because I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
They risked their bodies and did all that shit on for free on a random Wednesday night in the middle of July for Darby Allin to get a TNT championship match next week.
I listened to Wrestle Talk about this, and one of their ideas was the fact that it was actually supposed to be title shots across the board, for the winning team, for like Team AEW. So that would have been, Continental Championship and Tag Team. Now it's like, okay, now that makes sense if you think about those teams. You know what I'm saying? Because you got the Acclaimed in there, you got like Swerve is the champion, obviously, but I was like, all right, that makes a lot more sense. But because as it was coming together, it was so disjointed. It's like, all right, the only storyline that you could be going for here is that the EVPs are like kind of raising hell, but even still, that's been like adjacent to like Darby Allin, at least. Like, they directly screwed over Acclaimed and they directly beat up Swerve for turning them down. So those three make sense for sure. Mark Briscoe, he's just Ring of Honor World Champion and he's a face. And Darby Allin, he's the human crash test dummy. So I think you just throw those two in there. That's the way that after they brought that up, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense like that. But the fact that you just choose Darby for like, oh yeah, I want this TNT title shot, it's like, yeah, that's what I was glad it was over at that point. There you go. Because like you said, it did fall flat. But
yeah, it's again like the match itself was entertaining, but again, the reasons behind it, I just didn't understand it. And it kind of felt like it devalued the entire match. Just because like it almost feels like if you're gonna say this is Team AEW versus the Elite, and you're doing this in a blood and guts match where the other team has to say that they quit, that's kind of like WCW versus WWE. Right? Or like, that's like a big thing. And so it seems a little early to be doing that right now, but you put it in a Hell in a Cell match effectively, right? And if you're doing that, like, we know what the Hell in a Cell match means. You've exhausted all options. Well, in theory, before they made it into a pay-per-view. But in theory, when used properly, the Hell in a Cell match is like, you've exhausted every opportunity to solve this rivalry in a civil way, that we just have to put you in a Hell in a Cell and just y'all figure it out. But after this, we're done. And it's just like, man, like you gave us away for free.
and the Elite didn't even win because you could have lost that match and Swerve still has his title.
Like you think AEW, you think like I just don't know what's happening. I'm going to put it in shake. The chair shot, that's that. I don't care if it was a gimmick chair. I don't care. I'm not even gonna be that long on it. I posted Corey Graves' tweet about it. I'm pretty much the same sentiment. I don't care if it was a gimmick chair or not. It's 2024. Like, are we really doing unprotected chair shots? And it's fine. Like, there was a picture of Jack Perry and Drew McIntyre, posted up together. Jack was looking healthy, no bandages, no nothing. He was good. I think because WWE's in Japan right now. And so he's fine. But like, is it necessary?
I want to edit what you said. You said he's fine. He's fine now, which is why it's egregious. You know, like it doesn't take a lot of grandstanding. Like
Yeah.
we know that continuous blows to the head create CT. Like it's as simple as that. So
and it's like, oh, like it's like a cookie cutter, a baking sheet pan. It's like it doesn't fucking matter. Like it at the end of the day, it's like I don't care if it's taking unprotected shots to the head. It's the same thing I say about Kevin Owens. Like, damn, yo, like I appreciate it, but you don't need to do all this. We got a family, bro. Like, it's TV, it's entertainment. There's other ways to entertain me than to damn near die in this ring. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. Because these fans don't care about you. They're not gonna be there with you when you got Alzheimer's. Or whatever may come out of this because you decided that, hey, I wanted to do some dumb shit. And it's fine. It's your body. It's your life. If you want to do it, do it. But it's the same thing with Dean Ambrose. It's like, bro, I get it, but sometimes it's not necessary. You don't need to do that.
Yeah, you don't need to blade every match. You don't need to.
It's not necessary. Yeah. Like, I appreciate it, Mick, but bro, I don't want to see you take a pedigree to the face on some thumbtacks.
Yeah.
I'm good. You don't have to prove how tough you are. So I'll leave it at that. You could hate on me for whatever you call me soft and whatnot. It's just being just real and just an adult about it. And it's just like, man, even if it's for TV, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. Again, it goes about like there's got to be more mature ways of telling your TV of telling television than this going bottom barrel. It's just very it's easy.
Well,
it's all shock value, and it's like
and that's what took me out of it.
That just shows me that you don't really have the talent of actually writing good television.
Yeah, because it's like I'm sitting there thinking you're already in a blood and guts match. Like you can find another way to be brutal.
Anyway, they're stapling niggas like it's like they They got thumbtacks in them. Like there are so many times like I scoffed at the match. I'm just like, y'all just doing shit just to do shit. It don't even like make sense. It's just like the namesake of the match is blood and guts. So we gotta just be doing stupid stuff in the match and just keep escalating it. By the time he started pouring gasoline, I'm just like, go ahead, just burn the dude. Like, who cares? Like again, it's like you've desensitized. And like the wild thing is to go back to the chair shot. Like I don't watch AEW on a weekly basis, and it's not to say like I don't watch it because I don't like it. It's I don't have enough time. There's too much things I watch more than just wrestling. So to say that like I actually was like, hey, I'm gonna watch this live, and then the first time I watched AEW in like how long and live, I see what an unprotected chair shot. When like Sean Spears did an unprotected chair shot, like the first 3 months. Your company existed to Cody Rhodes? Or was it Cody or Dustin? Somebody.
It was Cody. You're right.
Yeah, took an unprotected chair shot. And that was like a legit chair.
Yeah.
So, like, again, AEW, if you're going to stick with the Jerry Springer, reality television, VH1 type of attention grabbing stuff, that's the way, but it just shows laziness from me. But other things that I'll get to the things that I did like. I did like Toni Storm's return as much as I clowned her for saying she'll prepare to die. I did like the way it was produced. Tony's look when she that like evil villain kind of look she had to her. She's not the villain in this; she's the face. But
you know who she is. Look up Norma Desmond. Just go ahead and Google search that face real quick.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's because I remember that was like one of the top comments. It was like, "Oh, she's just doing the Norma Desmond face, like behind her." Just yeah, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that is that old timey lady." Like I never knew that woman's name, but it's like I understand through Toni Storm's character, she's like constantly. Invoking the 1950s, 40s, like Hollywood actresses and stuff. So I was like, oh, that's
really good. That's why I put that in there because I was like, as much as some of the dialogue I thought was a little corny. I thought that was really done well, and her look and everything was done well. So I actually put that. I'm getting more intrigued by that match. I'm getting a little bit more intrigued by that match, but so we'll see how that plays out. So I'll call that a rising mid. And then the other thing that I did like was I like pretty much the entire segment of like DMD, Akira Shida, and Mercedes, and the debut or return of Camille. The match itself was pretty decent. Nice to see DMD get the win, come back. Looking a little rusty, but I mean overall it still was a good match. The Mercedes portion of it, it was good. It was average. Like, it was cool. I did like Camille's entrance though. I thought she looked dominating. Like, and it's kind of one of those situations was like Britt is not small, but she's not like huge. She's kind of like Becky Lynch body type, I would say. But the way that she would allow, the way she looked with Camille hitting her moves made Camille look like $1 million.
Yeah. All you need to look imposing is a good torture rack. Like that whole, like it's rare that we see it, but yeah, putting DMD and the torture rack, I thought was awesome. Seriously.
Britt made Camille look really like a threat. So I give that entire segment a rising mid. I'm getting more intrigued into that match, but it's more so for the Britt Baker side of it because, like, again, it goes back to like. Y'all gotta start, and it's funny to say this to AEW. It was like, y'all gotta start putting more respect on y'all originals or y'all homegrown people. And it has to start with Britt. You can't have her Mercedes just be running through your whole shit.
I get what you're going with that. It's funny because as you were saying, I was thinking, I'm like, well, she and her put on a banging match. Like, at least because those are the two. Like, if I was to pick any two women's, AEW originals, like those are the two that I would choose to represent the company. And they had an awesome match. So her even getting a tap out victory on Shida is already impressive. But I think it's just for the it is obviously for the build because they're showing us that, like, I know you said that DMD was rusty, but they're showing us her tapping out Hikaru Shida because Shida's the only 3-time women's champion, in AEW history. It's like, oh my God, that's such a big thing. But I would say Mercedes shouldn't run through. Like, even the way her character is now, yes, she is double champ. Like, but I still have DMD. I would say she's eye level with her.
I wouldn't be surprised if she was a triple champ.
Sure, even if she's triple champ, that isn't just because you have a championship doesn't mean you're better than somebody. As like a wrestler, you're more over. So, like, she can have 3 or 4 titles, but like DMD should be the one in her face. Like, that's the way that I look at it. So,
yeah, I think DMD she should be Mercedes Monet's worst nightmare.
Yeah, I think, and she can get there too. It's just because the story that they're telling, or that I'm picking up from the story they tell, is that DMD, she was out for a whole year and a half. You know what I'm saying? Legit injuries and shit like that. So it's like, they're telling the story that, oh yeah, Mercedes just came in and took it over, which she kind of did. So hey, just get your spot back. She can do it. Like, there's gonna be shenanigans and all the such, but she'll eventually get her off. I would think so.
All right. I'm gonna finish it off. Well, we got some shake left over, and it's pretty much similar shake. Well, not
Same
similar
thing.
shake. Not really. My shake is I'm a little confused between the American and international titles because like MJF did his promo. I thought it was pretty mid in the younger generation sense. I didn't really. It didn't really do much to me other than just, again, it highlights just lazy writing. It's like, it reminded me of this past season of The Boys where it's like, you're not even subtle about this.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm like, okay. I just don't understand it because, like, they have like an actual belt now. There's an American like title belt. But throughout the entire show, they're saying like, oh, Pac has an international championship match next week.
Mm-hmm.
The international title held by MJF. And then you only have one person, because I guess he's playing the heel commentator in this, acknowledging it as the American championship. And so I'm like, it's weird because it's not like he's walking around with the international title. He threw that title in the trash. And then is now walking around with an American title. Even Will Ospreay talks about it as the international title. Mm-hmm. So, like, what are we doing here?
I think it's just MJ.
I'm confused. Like,
I think it's just MJF's ego.
Is it a legit title that we're introducing?
No, I'm pretty sure it's just MJF's ego that he's like the best player. He says
title then? Like, that's a real title. They put thought and design onto that.
I don't think it's a real title. If it is, then that's stupid. Because international, first of all, looks 1,000 times better. Belt? You said what?
You're gonna have him walk around with a fake belt?
Not a fake belt. It's a custom belt. Like, he's just calling it the American Championship. That's what I believe it is. It's still the international. It's just MJF on his high horse. I'm the champion. I'm calling it the American, and make me a new belt. That's what I think it is. Because, like you said, everybody else is like, hey, it's still the international, championship. It's sort of like when fucking, what's his name? Whenever you do a custom belt, the rated R spinner belt, the fucking regular, U.S. championship spinner belt that
you're not changing the name of the title.
That's a matter of kayfabe, dude. Like, it doesn't matter.
No.
I think
if anything, you basically they have now an international title, an intercontinental title, and the international title, and now the American title is the U.S. title. Because again, the reason you bring out a title and spend the time and effort to design that title is because you're going to sell that title, and you're going to sell that title during an election year.
Sure. That doesn't mean that that's a recognized title. That doesn't mean that it's recognized. You can have a character storyline bit title that you want to sell for merch, and it's not the real fucking title because you're just attached to this MJF character.
I'm sorry, I don't believe that. That's ridiculous.
I'll tell you, I'll be disappointed. I'll tell you right now, I'll be disappointed if that's a real title because I don't want it to be a real title. I think that's ridiculous, and I think it's a hideous title. I'm pretty sure it also invokes, what is it, like Lance Storm, when Lance Storm put the Canadian custom shit on the European Championship, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I think it is. If it is another title, I'm disgusted, personally. I'm not even joking, because the international title looks better and it already has, you got enough. We constantly are saying that. It's not like you need another one. So, and you were actually doing great shit with the international championship too.
I'm confused. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he was just walking around and with the international title and was calling it the American title, or even just unscrewed the title name, right? Like the international part or whatever, if that was unscrewable, cool. I would be rocking with you on that. But he didn't do that. He threw the other joint in the trash and then unveiled a new title.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like the way we'd seen it in WWE when they got us a new title. It's on a little pedestal, covered, and then they unveiled it. And so that's not something that you just like show out for 2 weeks and then try to sell.
We also know that he didn't win no type of American Championship tournament or anything. What he won was the International Championship. And now he's debuting something else. So this is just spawned out of nowhere. Like, there was no other thought, or I'm not saying by AEW, I'm saying me. No other thought given to it other than this is just MJF standing on his shit because he loves fucking Long Island, New York so much. And I'm not defending this title outside of my country because he's a dickhead. But that's all I got for it. I think that's enough on the American Championship. I hope it's really actually just the international that got a hideous botched BBL. That's a botched BBL international championship with some patriotism attached.
We'll see. I'm unsure, so we'll see what happens next week if they clear that up a little bit more. You got one more, and this actually happened last night?
Yeah, there was a fuck, I don't know how many men. It was a gauntlet match. It was just a huge, like one of those battle royals, or not gauntlet, battle royal matches that they had. Which it came down to the last two. I did like the finish of it just because it came down to not Brody Lee, rest in peace. I forget his name. Knights of the Black Throne, not Aleister Black, but his Brody King. That's his name, not Brody Lee. Brody King and Darby Allin were the last two. And last time we saw them in this exact same match format, Brody King effectively hung Darby Allin outside the ring, like with just a they were standing on the apron and he just gave him a sleeper hold to the point that, Darby just dropped his arm. So he was hanging him by his head. Darby won this time. So he got his lick back. That's why it's shaped. And it's a AEW title shot, which, all right, sure. When he just got a TNT title shot. So that's why I felt like also going back to the Blood and Guts match, it was like, that was shoehorned in. It must have, because it doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's all I got for that.
All right, and we actually had a special shipment come in to the coffee shop. We have a TNA update. I believe over the past weekend,
yes.
Former Spirit Squad member Nikki, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, is now at TNA. He's won the TNA championship. Nick Nemeth is the new TNA champion. And he was giving out a little promo, and another former WWE guy, Mustafa Ali, came out and challenged him. And now, next week, on Impact, we have Nick Nemeth versus Mustafa Ali. I don't think it's for the title, but, I think it's going to eventually lead to a title match. But it's going to be a fun. I'm gonna have to figure out how to tune into that. Or at least catch the highlights of that once it's out. But
I could be misunderstanding, but I do believe it is a title match just because in the promo he's like, I'll be a fighting champion, I'll defend this anywhere. He doesn't say it directly to him, but like just right before he came out, he was saying that. So it might be. But
hey.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure Mustafa was like, oh, you handing out title shots, I'll take one. So but yeah, the Wanted Man is now TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Beating Moose, Moose has basically been roaming fucking TNA for years now. So that was you need to understand the context, not you, but just everybody needs to understand the context of how big of a win that is for TNA or for him to win the TNA World Championship.
And then again, we talked about it's like he's won the WWE title. Oh, I looked up. Shinsuke, you're right, did not win.
Yeah.
A world title. It's just scenes of him holding up the belt. I'm like, oh yeah, Shinsuke, he's held the belt, and it's like, no, he's never done that.
Oh.
So, but yeah, Dolph has, but a lot of it people could argue is transitional champion or whatnot. It's like you never was really you've held the title, but you wasn't treated like the top dog champion. So here's hoping Dolph is able to do that. No, I said Dolph. Nick is able to do that as TNA champion, because Mustafa Ali's been killing it at TNA and Impact. He's X Division champion, or was. I'm not sure.
He was,
yeah. So, Mustafa Ali has been filling out his passions and being able to do the character work that he wants to do ever since he's been since he left WWE, and now being in this position to be facing Nick. I don't know how friendly they were back at WWE, but I'm sure they might have some type of cordial relationship. That, hey, two former WWE guys fighting over for this TNA Impact title with the context of our careers is pretty special. And again, I could be called a hypocrite because you're like, oh, if this was AEW, if this is the exact same situation in AEW, you wouldn't be feeling this way. I think that's a lie. Because again, I think context of the people who are in it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where they're at in the career, compared to what, if this was Christian, it's like, bro, Christian done everything under the sun. Maybe, now he's been world champion too. in WWE. So it's like, again, Christian is just basically like the borderline threshold where you can kind of get away with it. But Edge, bro, you've done everything. You winning the AEW championship don't mean nothing to me. But someone like Dolph, it's like, bro, yeah, we know how nice Dolph been.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, yo, Dolph, you're nice. Always, Dolph's problem was always like, yo, you're just always going to get compared to Shawn Michaels. And unfortunately, like, you're just not going to be Shawn Michaels. So like, oh, you're just.
It's not the worst though. If that's the first name that
he's not bad. He's not bad, but that's not bad. But it's like that's like, yo, you're like for Kobe to be able to be like, yeah, I'm pretty much Jordan,
mm-hmm.
and it's not. And you can say he's a watered down Jordan, but that's still really good. And it's like Kobe is still Kobe. You know what I'm saying? It's not. He was able to build his own name up. That it's like you could say, oh, it's Kobe and Jordan. It's not like you're a watered down Jordan. It's like, no, you're Kobe. And that's where like Dolph, I feel like, was always trying to get to, where it's like, but people were always saying like, it's easy to look at him and be like, you're just a watered down Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not true. Dolph is hella entertaining. Nick is hella entertaining. He was like one of the only people back in the Spirit Squad that actually like helped put that gimmick over. Because when they got there, people didn't like it. Eventually, it started to click a little bit, and then it wore thin.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a small portion where it was like 4 people in the Spirit Squad, and only 2 of them really were like working. And it was Dolph, and I forget the other person.
Yeah. They all had cheerleader names like Mikey, Tucker, and like shit like that. Nikki.
They all ended in Y. Like, yeah, Nikki, Dicky, whatever. I don't know, but
yeah. Either
way, shout out to both of them. We'll give an update next week on how that match turned out. We gotta get through some time. We are running a little behind, so I'll kill through both these Book of Wrestling. I won't play the music this week, but they're pretty kind of 1-to-1. So on July 25th, 2008. And on let me start with the first one. July 25th, 2008, WWE PG era is born. So we moved from the PG-13 lane back down to PG, and a very heavy PG, where we didn't get out of it until probably as early as maybe a few years ago, but like in full effect probably just now.
Yeah. I was about to say, have you said any time before like now?
Probably when the Bloodline probably started. But you could honestly say the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Is when we started getting away from
pretty
much when they announced the Netflix deal is when they got away. Because like Netflix is gonna be like, what are you selling us for the next 5 years on our network? And it's like, hey, this is the WWE product that's going to be on Netflix next year. So,
yeah, because for sure I would not
even a teaser, because you're still guided by FCC regulations and whatnot.
True. Yeah.
While you're on cable and whatnot. So that's the first bit on this week. And the second bit, going back to Raw production notes, on 4 years later, July 23rd, 2012, Raw turns into 3 hours. And we still not got out of it. Even though I just said recently that like they seem to get a better handle of their 3 hours, it's still an exhausting show.
Yeah.
You can start Raw and still have like the last 10 minutes of Monday Night Football to watch.
Just cover up everything. You ain't watching no football if you're trying to watch it.
Like, it's wild.
Yeah.
Wild. So
I mean, it's like you said, they are related, so it's like it was a lot worse in like 2011 time frame, like Raw. You know what I'm saying? PG era Raw, like when we're in the middle of the Super Cena era.
2011, it was still 2 hours. 2011 was still 2 hours. 2012?
Right, well, 12, yeah.
And beyond, especially that 12, 13, 14, 15 era, that's rough. 3 hours, man. That's hard to watch Raw.
It was really, really bad, at least until like, when did Brock come back? Was that 14, right? That was SummerSlam 14 when he beat the shit out of Cena.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that was exhausting.
Yeah.
One bit of news. This is getting away from the week of wrestling. This kind of ties back to your Percy's, and you talked about the NBA and how they got their games kind of situated. I wanted to talk about specifically about Warner Brothers Discovery suing the NBA because they did not get their match proposal accepted on keeping their distribution rights for NBA games. And I bring this up. He's like, why are we talking about this in the middle of the week on a wrestling show? Well, I talked about this just because WB Discovery is the distributors of AEW. And it just more so, not to pick on AEW, there's nothing really to pick on AEW, it's just to more examine their relationship with their business partner, Warner Brothers Discovery, who honestly, the last 10 years has pretty much been struggling because of not just be able to find ways to make money. They have really successful products and brands, HBO, Game of Thrones, but Max didn't really work out the way it worked. There was discussions of possibly before WWE signed their distribution deals with Netflix and, moving Smackdown to Peacock. There was discussions possibly of Warner Brothers getting in on the WWE distribution. That obviously didn't work out. There's rumors of AEW getting their distribution with Warner Brothers updated, and now that there's AEW content being housed on the Max server, so you can go back and watch previous episodes of AEW. It does speak into, I bring this up because it does speak into like, what is the relationship between AEW and their distributor when their distributor is basically bleeding money out their pockets and is using other ways to basically fill in a big chunk that they're losing in their NBA rights. Because it's interesting, it's like we talk about like AEW, why do you have 3 wrestling shows? Because TNT is willing to give them the time. Or Warner Discovery is willing to give them the time. And they're willing to give them the time because it's reliable television that's going to be there. It's original content. It's live. You don't have to worry about any of the production costs. And it takes up 2 hours at least on your schedule.
Yeah.
An hour in some cases. So, what are your thoughts on, I guess, Warner Brothers suing the NBA for this? And on top of that, like, what do you think Warner Brothers, how does this affect Warner Brothers and their portfolio? And when I say portfolio, AEW.
I mean, honestly, this is your wheelhouse. Like you,
not so much AEW specifically, but what do you think about like in general, like what this might mean for like AEW as a TV product and not as a wrestling company, as it relates to their business partner? Is Warner Brothers the best place? Okay. Or does it seem like, is this a situation where it's like we can't get anybody else to buy our distribution?
Yeah.
And we're desperate for some live sports that we are losing right now. And we will give you money, because even Warner didn't even match. They try to match Amazon's Amazon's offer of like 1.8. And what I learned is that when you're matching, it's not just matching the price, it's matching everything that you're doing. So you got to have an itemized list of like, here's what Amazon's offering in that 1.8. And you, as Warner Brothers Discovery, have to match everything that they're doing or show that you're offering a better value at the same exact matching price. And then the NBA was like, well, technically, this is not the exact same. And so we're going to decline this and we're going to go with Amazon. Yeah. And so that's where it's like, okay, that's the NBA, but what does it mean when you take a perspective that Warner is struggling and they're kind of find ways to fill in their live sports gap?
I mean, honestly, this is your wheelhouse and you care about distributors and like who owns everything. So I was like, this is clearly something for you to get your shit off on. So I'd much rather ISO, like pass you the ball in ISO right now.
I don't really have an opinion. It's just more something I say just be aware of and just consider just like, it's just more consider of like just the moves of like, like I don't blame AEW for taking the time slots. It just makes their job a little bit more difficult. But again, like the reason they're able to take that time slot because again, they Warner Discovery has signed other sporting events, but like you're not making NBA money anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so they have to find ways to fill in that live sports gap. And AEW is looking to be that. But again, it seems like it might be a deal out of desperation on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I kind of look at it at this moment. If I was to look at it from like a 30,000 foot view, it seems like both of y'all need each other. Because if not, AEW doesn't have a place to distribute. And Warner Brothers Discovery would just be asked out on any kind of live reoccurring
anything, yeah.
television product that they don't have to put much budget into other than, hey, here's 2-hour time slots between the hours of 8 and 10. And so that's why they're like, hey, here, we got time. We got time, baby.
Yeah.
We got time. Thursdays, we got time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially after this NBA season's over and they're done. What are other games that TNT? Was it Thursdays and what? Tuesdays? Well, that's NBA. That's ESPN. It's Tuesday.
Yeah, ESPN.
Either way, it's just an interesting thing to call out. We're running a little behind, so I'm
sorry
for
I did not have an opinion about that at all.
I just wanted to bring it up. It was just an interesting thing. It was just like, at the distributor of AEW is, again, knowing Warner Discovery, they are struggling. It's going to be, Paramount just got bought by Skydance. And so, like, Warner, they were bought by AT&T. They are sold off by AT&T. They were bought by Discover and merged. And so I think there's going to be another thing where David Zaslav has been a very piss poor CEO in his time. I think there's going to be a situation where there's going to be another merger coming soon. They're going to be bought.
You have to get another app.
I mean, it is going to be another app possibly, but they're also just going to be, it's going to make AEW's life a little bit difficult if they're not if they're not bringing in money and a merger happens, that distribution deal is going to be interesting to see what happens. Because at that point, that new person is going to reevaluate what they have on the books and whether it is worth keeping or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not able to show the value, who else is going to buy your distribution? Maybe Fox.
Yeah.
But let's get into SmackDown. We're the boutique. We're currently, at least for the next couple months, we have 2 more months?
Until
before SmackDown moves to
USA? Yeah.
It starts fairly soon. Let's get into the recap. It seems like you have Ditto as well. So let's talk about that Bloodlining winning the Gauntlet match.
Well, the setup for it I thought was funny as shit. Just because I just want to tell you an intrusive thought that I had prior to that when Solo and them in the promo or in the segment backstage, they're like, hey, sorry. Or Aldis tells the Bloodline that they're out because Tongaloa has an eye injury and he got that big ass badge on his eye.
You know what I thought of when I saw that?
Immediately in my head, I went to, because remember I told you, I was like, yo, somebody needs to discipline him. He's fucking up. It's like, yo, he got a Samoan spike to the eye. That was the first thought that I had. It was like, they went off screen. It's like, man, you fucking up. You fucking up. You know what I got your ass now.
I immediately went through and thought about you seen Austin Powers, right?
Yeah.
You remember number 2?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's immediately my mind went through. It's just like Solo Sikoa is Dr. Evil. And it's like, okay, sorry, number 2.
But yeah, I thought that was so fucking funny. Just seeing him with that big ass, clearly his eyes.
I'm gonna talk about that because I do like that Nick Aldis because I have this in my shake, and I get on I get on Adam Pearce on
More
Raw,
so Adam Pearce.
about needing to get his shit straight. I think Nick Aldis shows a calm demeanor, and I do like how he kind of handled this situation. Why the hell are they coming out last? He needs to do something about the bloodline. That's how I'm going to leave it. Like, don't let him walk over you. Because he has his entire show, I feel like, on lock. But, like, don't let Solo walk over. Don't let the bloodline walk over you. If they're going to play that game, they got to be in first. You can't have them come out last.
I hear what you're saying. Like, and kayfabe for sure. It's like you definitely got to put them at least in the middle. Like make them, like, earn it more so. However, it's like, we keep on complimenting Nick Aldis because he's smarter than Adam Pearce. So
yeah,
the rubber has to meet the road somewhere. It's like, all right, he already tried his shit for this week. You know what I'm saying? He already hit them with the, yo, you're out. You know what I'm saying? And it's like Solo counters him. He's like, oh, well, shit. Like,
and then you counter back, man. You throw it a draw two. You throw the draw two.
You sound like you ain't acknowledging him.
I'm just saying, like, I'll let it go this week. But if he continues to let the bloodline walk over him, he's gonna get that. He's gonna get that Adam Pearce smoke from me. So, and that's the reason I have the bloodline winning the tag gauntlet as a mid, because I'm like, yo, I thought, with all the news of Bobby Lashley and MVP leaving, it looked like the Street Profits was about to blow up. It looked like we about to get them back onto winning the tag team titles.
Mm-hmm.
They knocked out more teams out of all of them. And then you got the bloodline coming out at the end, and then it's like, all right. Jacob looked great.
Mm-hmm.
He looked great, especially the way he ended that match. But that's why I was just like, man, I wanted the Street Profits to win.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd rather have the bloodline come through first. Like, I'm like, yo, again, Nick Aldis doesn't really have a reason to, but like the bloodline is fucking up his show.
Yeah, well, yeah, by taking out superstars. They haven't. I'm trying to see if they've acted in a vacuum.
Show, but they're starting to become a problem. And
now they are. Yeah. I was like, because they've acted in a vacuum all the way up until the point when they took out, Randy and Kevin in the last 2 weeks, basically. Like, up until that point, everything was fine. And now, I think it's just because obviously Jacob is here. You could say the bloodline is full now, outside of Wiseman, as we keep pointing out. But the bloodline, like, fighters are there already. So it's like they can have an impact. And speaking of impact, that might be who has the most impactful, like, moonsault ever? We were just talking about moonsaults, with Tiffany Stratton and like Io Sky and like what the difference is and stuff. I'm like, this might be the only person that comes to my head is Vader. Like, because obviously of how dense Vader was. But it's like, clearly Jacob is even more athletic. And it's just like, I wouldn't want to take that shit. I'm like, for it to be such a simple move, I'm completely like, that's over with me as like his finisher.
I give Jacob the edge right now.
Yeah, like that's already a gold.
And then the way because he did that on Dawkins too, because he had the pop up Samoan drop on him on Dawkins. I was like, oh snap, because even Dawkins, he lost weight, but he's still a pretty big boy.
Yeah.
Guy. So like for him to do the pop up Samoan drop. And then, immediately get up and then do the double hop springboard. Not springboard, but
moonsault.
Yeah. I was like, okay. And
I would call that.
It was all clean. It was all clean.
Yeah. I'd call that a triple jump moonsault just because he jumps on the corner 3 times. That's all before he does it.
Okay. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm glad that, it seems like, I guess DIY is going to be a short term.
See, there's times where you just gotta put the title on people so you can get used to it. It's like, all right, they're the like without a doubt, DIY will win the tag team championships again. But I feel like, this just leads into my shake. I didn't have anything else. Like, I don't think we either had in the standard stuff, but Cody and DIY, they all have death wishes. That's what I'm like. I was just like, when DIY or Ciampa is talking in the camera and he's like, any place, anytime, and I'm like, no, you should be like, never. You have to earn a spot. Like, don't just be like, okay.
That's the thing that's bothering me with some of these face champions. I get trying to be a fighting champion. Sometimes you just got to be real with people. Yo, what are you talking about?
Yeah, you just got here. Like,
what are you talking about? Like, it's not, I'm trying to duck fights or anything. It's just like, let's be real here. Get your weight up before you come to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. Like,
it's funny. Tommaso Ciampa says to the 280-pounder.
They be willing. We can get tag team championship matches right now if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be like, yeah, fighting champs. I'm like, yo, we don't deserve it though.
That's shit. And what else did you have? Do you have anything specifically about the match itself or what?
About the
match?
For
the blood. I was just because we're continuing this whole bloodline thing. That's why I was like,
oh, I don't have much about the match. Like, the match was great overall. I think it made everybody look good. At a certain point, I'm like, okay, the Street Profits, they look like they might win this. But again, like the fact that the bloodline came in last, I'm like, I get it. It also makes me worry about, like, are we going to the Street Profits ever going to win the championships again? What are we doing with either one of these guys?
Yeah, right.
So it just makes me more concerned. It gives me more concern about the Profits than it makes me care about, like, what's happening with the bloodline and the titles and all that. So
yeah. And the only other thing, just to put a bow on, from my point of view, all the bloodline adjacent stuff, like you're right, Cody is in Japan right now, and so they did have a vignette of him and just talking at the camera. I'm a fighting champion, exactly, like the same shit, and I'm like,
not every face champ needs to be a fighting champion. Like, I'm just saying, not every face champ needs to be a fighting champion. That's
what I'm saying. I'm just like, I watched that and I'm like, my nigga, like, for him to be like, oh, I'm going at it alone. And like, we said that. I was like, yo, Cody's going to be like, nah, square up. And that's exactly what's happened. But yeah, that's all I have for them. But yeah, they got some death sentences. What you got for your shake?
My other shake that I had outside of Nick Aldis was I like the A-Town Down Under is like a slow burn. I feel like I don't know why it's a slow burn. I feel like it should have happened, or Austin's Theory is just a dumbass and doesn't realize what's happening to him. But because like at some point, like we should be having sympathy for Austin Theory, but I'm like, if you just gonna keep falling for this shit and keep hanging out with this dude, it's like I got no sympathy for you. Like, but Terrence Crawford, recently mentioned on a Kendrick song, undefeated world champion. He made an appearance, was in the ring, and it was just a fun segment. It's kind of similar to the Aura Mensa, Ethan Page of it, where Austin Theory is just talking his S, and he's like, hey, if you take one step closer to me, my boy Austin Theory is gonna knock you out. And then he steps back, and Austin Theory's like, wait, what?
What? Yeah, exactly. Like, what?
And then Austin Theory obviously gets knocked out. And so I just thought that was funny. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I agree that also I thought for sure, like by the time that we initially saw this, that the split should have happened already. I would have thought, especially once they like lost the titles. But yeah, like you said, slow burn for whatever reason. But okay, well, I'll look forward to that match.
I'm just curious to see. I think they're struggling to figure out how to make Austin Theory a face.
Yeah, because you can turn him like face, but like just turning him face doesn't make us care about him. You know, so
exactly that's the problem. Because like he's just, I'm sure he's a nice guy. It's just like you just naturally just come off as heel.
Which I mean, hey, he might be. I think he was really had something, honestly, when he was Money in the Bank, Austin Theory. Like that was the most I cared about him up to that point. So, and then the tag team titles. So I felt like obviously A-Town Down Under is actually like they clearly have chemistry. You know what I'm saying? That was like the best thing for them at that time. So, the last bit that I had for SmackDown was Nia Jackson, Tiffany look and feel a little too much like a tag team. That's what I meant by this. Like they feel too much like a tag team. Like in this match, like they both team up effectively. Bailey's like the real one that they're both after. They're both gunning for the championship, but obviously their move set and everything was like working seamlessly and stuff. So I'm like, okay, this is working. But when I felt almost like, yeah, that is what I'm saying. I felt like their chemistry in the ring was too good for my liking, if that makes sense. Like they should be, they should be a little more disjointed so I know that they're a separate entity from each other, because it sort of is like that bullying situation, like when Piper, showed up and was like, oh, I'm your tag champ now. It's the same thing that Nia's doing at Tiffany. It's like, hey, don't cash that in yet. Like, I'm going to be champion, so don't cash that in. Like, so she's bullying Tiffany into not using it when she has all the opportunity to use it. And I'm just like, a nitpick, that's the only reason that it's even in shake. But
it's going to be interesting to see what happens if, I think Bayley retains, but it'd be interesting to see what happens if Nia was to win the championship while she's in a partnership with someone with the Money in the Bank.
Yeah. And then that's easy to just like, also, if you want to turn Tiffany face, if you could do that, like that could be a face turn for Tiffany.
That could be a face turn.
Nia's champion, and then she turns on her, So that could work. I'm actually like that now because I still have yet to see Tiffany as a face. So she feels so good. She's been a heel the whole time in NXT and everything. So, but yeah, that's all I got.
I think she can get over as a face as Alicia Silverstone.
Oh yeah, Clueless, hell yeah, I love it.
And then she'd be like Toodles, and then
exactly.
she goes like, I think she can get over like that as a face.
Ooh, you know what I'm ready for already? Now that we're booking Tiffany face champion already cashing in, I want to see like the segments of like her going to get like Manny Petties done with like insert like woman of the week, basically, like with the championship just sitting on her lap or something. Like it'll still be fun.
Speaking of turning face, how do you feel about Rhea as a face? Obviously, we're going to get that really soon. We're probably getting that right now. So, like, she's been mostly heel on the main roster. So, like, we're going to finally, and, people have been kind of naturally pushing her face just because, she gets a big pop every time. That's like, now you get the opportunity to be face. How do you think that's going to come off?
I think it's more so, I don't see her as a full face. Like, I don't think that's possible. I think she's already at the point where she's already so hot, such a big, like, established star that it's like, she's more of like a certified tweener that you can just sway with her story because she's so well-defined that you understand where she's coming from. You know what I mean? Because right now with Liv, she's obviously face because Liv's been trying to take her man and stuff like that. But it's not like, I don't see her going more white meat. Like, I don't think there'll ever be a time where in a babyface way, she's like, oh, I'm a fighting champion. Anybody who wants some can come get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that happens. I think it's more of like a, Moxley badassery kind of thing, if that makes sense. But because she's already so over, it's like you said, the second that she comes out, she's already getting that pop. You know what I'm saying? So it would take Bianca being heel for Rhea to be face. I believe that. It would take a shift like that. Like, that's the big booking you're talking about, The Rock and Stone Cold.
I don't know. I see Rhea almost like as a face would be something like Becky the Man.
I mean, yeah.
And that's something I kind of don't want her to be.
Yeah, that's off of Rhea, though. Yeah, it's like that doesn't feel like Rhea anymore as you described that. But that is close to like, the tweener whole badass. Like that was Becky as a badass was the man, so.
But I'm like, maybe it's like I'm more lower on like the more recent, like the man stuff. Cause it feels like it kind of went on a little, it needs a little bit of a rebrand, a refreshing.
That's what I was actually going to say about Rhea.
When it first happened, it was cool. And I think you're right. It was at that tweener, but at a certain point, it just became like John Cena. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
and there's nothing wrong with John Cena. It's just like, when you get to that John Cena level, it's just like, it's more PR than like an actual like personality.
Yeah, I'd agree. Maybe it just takes like, I'll edit it. It's not that she'll never be a baby face like that, but she'll at least for sure. This version of Rhea can't do that. So she'll need a remodel, a new nickname or something. She'll need a new gimmick, like to make that change, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if she her sweet spot would be trying to find, obviously not saying that she needs to be this person, more so like what the person represented. It's Stone Cold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's just being an anti-hero, like, you know, the Punisher. It's like if her personality, if her alignment depends on the situation, I'd rather go with that rather than just being like, I am a face right now, I'm a heel right now. I'd rather it be situational.
Yeah.
You know, and so little side topic on Rhea and see how that plays out. But looking forward to seeing how that plays out, though.
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, early prediction. Do you think she's winning the title back?
I mean, hey, we're waiting for Dom, right? You said that's an early prediction. I'll wait.
Yeah, if Dom helps out, he's definitely going to be in a cage by like October whenever they do Bad Blood. So let's wrap this show up. Let's get to our champions of the week.
You go first this time. You always be wanting me to go first. You be trying to pass it off on some slick shit.
I mean, I talk a lot, so that's why I say it's more about giving you the opportunity to speak. But I'll go with mine. And this is something we talked about earlier because this week, because I swear before I sent you the Jamal, what's his name, Jamal Williams?
Jamal Williams, yeah.
Jamal Williams video clip. I already had that song stuck in my head.
Yeah.
I already had like for no reason, because it's not like I watched any Joe Henry the night before. It was AEW. So whatever reason, I'm just like, I believe in Joe Henry. So if you didn't know right now, I came up with a comparison in our text, and I'm just gonna give him the title. The Randy Watson, that boy good. Yeah, good and terrible. Title belt to Joe Henry. And we'll play this clip real quick just so people of the non-cultured variety will understand what we're talking about.
Yes! Randy Watson! That boy is good. Mm-hmm. Good and terrible.
Because that's exactly what Joe Henry is. This man is good and terrible. And if you haven't seen this clip, this is Jamal Williams. He plays for the Saints. He is coming out to practice.
I believe. Hey, you want to hear my new thing? And I found out it's just in my head. Can I say it? You ready? Yeah. Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Henry. Hopefully it goes on everybody's algorithm now.
Oh my gosh. It is so bad, but it's so good. Like,
yeah.
I don't think I think I'm a Joe Henry guy, but it's out of like, it's, if you ask me like, are you a Joe Henry guy? Like, do you like Joe Henry? It's like, I think I like Joe Henry. Yeah. I will respond to you in a question of like unsure that I do fuck with him. Mm-hmm. But like, it's like, I guess I do, but like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
You're definitely a Joe Henry guy. For the vacuum that we've been put in for him, it's like, bruh, that's all it takes. Sometimes
I've never really even seen him wrestle. I'm like, what is this? This is stupid.
Like, that's all it takes.
I like stupid shit. So.
Hey, sometimes, we know characters can get you over. Like the in-ring work can get you over. Sometimes all it is just an entrance. An entrance can get you over if it's that fucking good. So, yeah, it's hypnotic for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, the Randy Watson, that boy good. Yeah, good and terrible. Title belt to Joe Henry this week. Let's get to yours.
I appreciate it. I was going to look for the clip, but yeah, I decided to call this the Mr. Chocolate's BET title, which for the uncultured, I'll describe. We all know Tyler Perry, but there is a a parodied version of him on the Great Show of Atlanta, created by Donald Glover, of Mr. Chocolate, who is immune to hot grits. And he goes, "Ah!" I just wanted to find that clip because that's how I felt just watching. I was like watching Trick, Cedric, Ashante.
Yeah.
Like, because my first.
He was the start of the show. There was a lot of blackness on the show.
Yeah, exactly. And then not for nothing, like, I mean, you were starting to step on it a little bit, but like, yeah, when Ashante came out, I'm like, all right, we getting some mic work here. But when Cedric came out, I'm like, new glasses, who this? I didn't know who he was until Trick was like, nah, I know, I appreciate your help, Cedric. I was like, Cedric who? I was like, what you talking about? I was like, what's Cedric? But I was like, there was a whole lot of blackety ass black stuff up there. And I was like, okay, I can't even remember. Honestly, just think of this. Like, we're real wrestling fans. Can you think of a time where you've seen 3 black male like solo wrestlers like just talking to each other in the ring? Like not partnered up ever, like 3 individual acts, like solo wrestlers hashing it out.
I mean,
because I can't think of it.
Yeah, and Bobby Lashley, but I can't even think of a third person. MVP, I don't know.
Yeah, but even with that,
that even happened.
Exactly. Yeah, because even with that, we could be like, oh, well, Hurt Business. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least that was in the ballpark.
And I don't know, like it doesn't happen. And then again, they were talking like regular black people.
Yes, exactly. Which is why they get the award. I was like, oh, they really just gave them mic time. They really did that.
They really
like,
just gave mic time.
Sean let them go out there and do their shit, and I was like, oh shit.
Because you can even hear what like Javon Evans, like when we gave him the award last week, like, a couple weeks ago, when he was like, boy, I'm gonna slap the dumbass out you or something like that.
Yeah.
Boy, like, you really sound like a pissed off 19-year-old. I get it.
Yeah. He was like, boy, don't even talk to me like that, boy. Come on now. I will slap the dummy off your ass. Like, but yeah, the Mr. Chocolate BET award, I guess that goes to Sean. I guess that would go to Sean.
No.
Or just allowing them to have it, but it's the whole NXT thing.
I guess, yeah, if you're saying Mr. Chocolate is Sean, yeah, but that goes to our discussion. Is Eminem in the top 5 of Mount Rushmore of hip hop? And it's like, nah, you can't. Yeah. You got to give it to the 3 men that spit it. Yeah,
yeah. It just make me check the logo in the corner. Like, is this BET? Yeah. Like, but yeah.
I was watching Divorce is Black.
Right. Hey, I got one more question for you though.
You heard about that?
Divorce in the Black? Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even. I've seen clips of it. I've seen like the grocery store clip, but like I heard Rachel on Higher Learning give like the first talk about the first like 10 minutes of the movie, and I'm like, are you serious? That happens? I need to watch this on like Cinephobe needs to do a movie roast. I can't wait to all the roasts come out because I just want to watch it for how bad it is.
Yeah.
Because from the clips that I've seen, I'm like, this shit is Tyler Perry's magnum opus.
Oh, that's great. Oh, if this is the magnum opus, that's saying something right there.
This might be the magnum opus.
Oh shit.
Bullshit of Tyler Perry. So,
hey, I got another question for you though.
Yeah, we're running.
How do you feel about?
We're running late.
I was gonna say, how do you feel about this episode? You keep stepping on my shit, dog. How do you feel about this episode?
It's good. It's natural. I think there was a lot of good dialogue. I think I inflated it a little bit. I probably could have took away the Warner Brothers Discovery conversation. That was very self-fulfilling. So if we didn't do that conversation, we probably would be just over. We'd probably be at 210. But hey, every once in a while, people will get a little extra. And then eventually we'll start editing this shit and it'll actually be shorter than what it is. So right now, you getting the full uncut BT uncut version of this.
Yeah. That's funny because you're grading way harder. I was just going to go for the simple. It's a perfect episode, Samson. Wrap it up. That's where I was going with it. But if you want to
I would be a much more stickler. This is, you guys say this is progress for me because I would be much harder on us. But then I'm like, hey, it happens. It happens. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah. All right. Till next time, people.
Episode? Yeah. Then we're done. I think we're good.
We are done.
All right, y'all. Peace. Let me find this mouse again.
Jesus.